Welcome back to part 7 of A History of Yankee Stadium. If you missed the earlier parts, click the card in the corner to watch them and get caught up. Thank you for being here, and let's dive in. When fans walked back into Yankee Stadium on April 15, 1976, it was remarkably different. From the outside, the stadium looked almost the same. But inside, it had been completely transformed. Both the upper deck and the mezzanine had been expanded. Yet the stadium now held fewer fans at 57,545 seats. Part of that was due to the wider plastic seats, and about a third of the outfield bleachers having been removed to create a new black batter's eye. The changes were significant enough that many historical sources refer to this iteration of the house that Ruth built as Yankee Stadium II. 52,613 had the privilege of first experiencing the revitalized cathedral, as the Yankees beat the visiting Twins 11-4. Twins outfielder Dan Ford was the first to hit a home run in the new stadium, with Thurman Munson becoming the first Yankee to do so 2 days later. Several Yankees legends were in attendance for the ballgame, including Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, and the widows of both Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth. Bob Shockey, Yankees starter for the original opening day in 1923, threw out the ceremonial first pitch. The renovated Yankee Stadium wasn't just reopening, it was redefining what the Yankees would become in the modern era. That initial win turned out to be a harbinger of things to come throughout the season. The rebuild had happened both literally and figuratively, because in the first season of baseball at Yankee Stadium II, the New York Yankees won the AL East and beat the Royals in the 5th game of a best-of-5 ALCS to capture their first American League pennant since 1964. Game 5 ended with one of the most famous swings in Yankees history, a walk-off home run off the bat of Chris Chambliss that sent fans flooding onto the field. The fans appreciated the return to form and reciprocated by providing Yankee Stadium with over 2 million in attendance for the first time since 1950. April 29th and 30th saw the additions of Joe McCarthy and Casey Stengel to Monument Park, adding to the Yankees mythos. The Cape Cod League held their All-Star game at Yankee Stadium for a third time, and catcher Thurman Munson was named the American League MVP. A fan base that had been spoiled by elite results for decades was, for the first time, able to fully appreciate the gravity of success. Sadly, that feeling was quickly steamrolled by the Big Red Machine. Facing off against one of the greatest teams ever assembled, the Yankees were swept right out of the Fall Classic by a franchise in the midst of a dynasty. The offseason following 1976 was the first to experience free agency, and the biggest fish in the pond was Reggie Jackson. A bidding war ensued, one that was won by the Yankees, and heading into 1977, they had bolstered the lineup. The free agency splash is something that the Yankees would gain infamy for under the Steinbrenner regime. The new iteration of the Grand Cathedral was gifted the hosting of the 1977 MLB All-Star Game, taking place on July 19th. 2 Yankees started the game for the American League, who lost their 6th consecutive All-Star Game to the National League 7-5. 56,683 fans were in attendance for the showcase. A similar story to 1976 ensued across the 1977 season, except this time, the Yankees managed to rewrite the ending. The Yankees finished with 100 wins to capture the AL East for the second straight year. Even their championship series foe was the same, the Royals, seeing the Yankees take the series in a winner-take-all Game 5 again. Pitcher Sparky Lyle won the American League Cy Young Award. And waiting for them in the World Series was their old Fall Classic nemesis, the Los Angeles Dodgers. The American League had the hosting honors in '77, and the two teams split the first two games in New York. The Yankees stole Games 3 and 4 in Los Angeles to pull within a game of ending their longest championship drought since they won their first. LA managed to stay alive by winning Game 5, but the Yankees sealed the deal in Game 6 back in New York. The Yankees' big free agent signing, Reggie Jackson, won the series MVP after delivering one of the greatest World Series performances ever in the clinching Game 6, hitting 3 consecutive home runs on 3 straight pitches from 3 different pitchers, and christening the newly remodeled stadium with a great moment of its own. The first Yankee Stadium claimed a championship in its first season, and Yankee Stadium II earned its baptism in its second season. The Yankees' success seemed tied to the vitality of their famous ballpark. In the few short years since Steinbrenner's takeover, the newly remodeled Yankees, with their newly remodeled Yankee Stadium, had brought winning baseball back to the Bronx, restoring the prestige lost during the CBS years. The Yankees were no longer baseball royalty by tradition alone. They were becoming baseball's first modern superpower, fueled by money, media, and personality. The Yankees had once been known for quiet confidence and tradition. Now, they were brash, powerful, and impossible to ignore. Wherever the Yankees went, the media followed, and so did drama. The Yankees would repeat their championship effort in 1978, in possibly the most dramatic fashion possible. In late July, Billy Martin stepped aside, citing health reasons, and was quickly replaced by the recently unemployed Bob Lemon. Around the same time, the Yankees found themselves a full 14 games behind the first-place Red Sox. Lemon's hiring interjected some energy into the lineup, and the Yanks went on a tear to finish out the year. After 162 games, the Yankees and Red Sox were all tied at 99 and 63, and forced to play a one-game playoff. Down 2-0 in the 7th with 2 on, light-hitting shortstop Bucky Dent stepped to the plate and stunned Boston. He smacked a fly ball that sailed over the Green Monster, giving the Yankees a shocking 3-2 lead. They would close the game out 5-4, breaking the hearts of Red Sox fans and earning the game the infamous moniker of the Bucky Dent game. Following the season, pitcher Ron Guidry was awarded the American League Cy Young. Then, the Yankees dispatched with the Royals for a third straight year in the ALCS, before getting another opportunity to disappoint the Dodgers. In a bid to get revenge, the Dodgers jumped out to a quick lead, taking the first 2 games out in LA. Once the series flipped to the Bronx, the Yankees took control and never looked back. They swept the games they hosted at Yankee Stadium before traveling back to Los Angeles and closing the series out with a decisive 7-2 victory. The Yankees claimed their 22nd World Series championship, showing that despite a new culture of chaos, the winning still seemed inevitable. That inevitability would soon prove to be nothing more than a mirage. In the middle of a pennant race on August 2nd, 1979, the New York Yankees were enjoying a rest day when devastating news arrived. Team captain Thurman Munson had died in a plane crash in Ohio. The 32-year-old catcher had been an anchor on the team for years and was potentially on his way to a plaque in Cooperstown. The loss was felt deeply in the organization. His funeral was held on August 6th at the Canton Civic Center in Canton, Ohio. The entire Yankees team attended the funeral before flying back to New York to beat the Orioles 5-4. On their lost captain, George Steinbrenner said, "The great sport, which made him so famous, seems so very small and unimportant now. And there lies a great lesson for all of us." Yankee Stadium hosted a franchise record-setting 2.53 million fans. But the team took a step back on the field, and the loss of Munson loomed large over the organization. For the first time since reopening, Yankee Stadium felt quiet. They finished the season with 89 wins, but only in 4th place in the AL East. They returned to form in 1980, winning an impressive 103 games to reclaim the AL East. But they were quickly swept out of the ALCS by the Royals in a small measure of revenge from the mid to late 70s. The Cape Cod League held their All-Star game at Yankee Stadium for the final time, with this iteration featuring several future MLB stars. The Yankees began playing Frank Sinatra's theme from New York, New York after every win at Yankee Stadium, something that would quickly become a beloved tradition in the Bronx. And, most notably, on September 20th, Thurman Munson had his plaque added to Monument Park to forever rest alongside the greatest to ever wear the pinstripes. 1981 was a strike-shortened season in which the Yankees made the playoffs because they had a first-place finish to the front half of the shortened season. Pitcher Dave Righetti was awarded the AL Rookie of the Year award following the season. When the playoffs rolled around, the Yankees beat the Milwaukee Brewers in a full 5-game ALDS before sweeping the Athletics in the ALCS. Waiting for them in the World Series was their favorite Fall Classic foes, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Unfortunately for our protagonists, the Dodgers flipped the script in the series, losing the first 2 games in the Bronx before winning all 3 in LA and closing out the series in front of a disappointed crowd at Yankee Stadium. Falling short to their old rivals in the World Series hung heavy on the organization. But given the success the team had enjoyed since reopening Yankee Stadium, fans had every reason to believe they would be back soon. That would turn out to be far from the truth. The series-clinching loss on October 28, 1981, would be the last World Series game hosted at Yankee Stadium for 15 years. It would be 14 years until the Yankees would even make the playoffs again. The 1980s would become one of the strangest decades in Yankee Stadium history, filled with moments everyone remembers, but seasons few remember clearly. 1981 Rookie of the Year Dave Righetti threw a no-hitter against the Red Sox at Yankee Stadium on the 4th of July in 1983. 20 days later, George Brett hit a go-ahead home run in the 9th inning of a game in the Bronx, before having his home run disqualified due to excessive pine tar on his bat. His temper tantrum in the moment has become an iconic moment in baseball history. Several monuments were added to Monument Park throughout the decade. Elston Howard and Roger Maris in 1984, Phil Rizzuto in 1985, Billy Martin in 86, Lefty Gomez and Whitey Ford in 87, Bill Dickey and Yogi Berra in 88, and Allie Reynolds in 1989. First baseman Don Mattingly won the 1985 AL MVP and 5 Gold Gloves throughout the decade. Even the Grand Stadium herself received one final tweak in 1988 when the outfield bullpens were moved, Monument Park was expanded, and the distance in Death Valley was cut down once more. This was the final update the stadium would ever receive. As the Yankees struggled through the early 90s, one thing became apparent. For the first time in decades, the Yankees needed to stop trying to buy the future and begin building one. A core of players began to form starting in 1990 that would lead the Yankees back to the promised land. Mariano Rivera was signed out of Panama in 1990, around the same time that the Yankees selected both Jorge Posada and Andy Pettitte in the 1990 MLB draft. Then, 2 years later, the crown jewel of the rebuild, shortstop Derek Jeter, was drafted in the first round out of high school. Together, they would become known as the Core Four, a group of ballplayers homegrown within the Yankees organization who would redefine what the franchise looked like at the turn of the century. All four of these men made their major league debuts in 1995, a point that has been realized as a critical juncture in Yankees history. In a strike-shortened season, the Yankees won 79 games and finished in second place in the AL East, earning a playoff spot for the first time in 14 years. Meeting the Mariners in the divisional series, the Yankees jumped out to a quick 2-0 lead at home, before utterly collapsing in Seattle. The series ended when, down 5-4 in the bottom of the 11th of Game 5, the Mariners' Edgar Martinez doubled to left off of Jack McDowell, scoring Joey Cora and Ken Griffey Jr. to win the series for Seattle. For the Yankees, the loss felt devastating. In hindsight, it marked something else: the return of October baseball to the house that Ruth built. The Yankees' first postseason excursion in nearly a decade and a half ended in utter heartbreak. Following the season, first baseman Don Mattingly announced his retirement, citing an ailing body. The legendary Yankee, who would be added to Monument Park in 1997, only made the playoffs once, his career marred by injury and lack of team success. His retirement in many ways signaled a new changing of the guard in the Bronx. A new crop of Yankees had risen to the top, and it was their time to lead the Yankees back to the glory days. A contract dispute between the organization and manager Buck Showalter led to the dismissal of the 1994 Manager of the Year winner after the 1995 season. In came former Cardinals manager Joe Torre. The hire was widely criticized as uninspired, but the Yankees weren't looking for a celebrity manager. They needed someone who could take a young team that had finally found its identity and guide it to the next step. Torre led the young Yankees to a 92-win season, winning the AL East for the first time since 1980. Shortstop Derek Jeter won the Rookie of the Year award, and Joe Torre shared the Manager of the Year award with the Rangers' Johnny Oates. The two award-winning managers faced off in the divisional series, with the Yankees dropping Game 1 but taking the next 3 to advance. In the ALCS, they matched up with the Orioles, who they dispatched in similar fashion, this time only losing Game 2 on their way to a 4-1 series win. Waiting for them in their first fall classic since 1981 were the defending champion Atlanta Braves. With the American League hosting the World Series in 1996, Yankee Stadium was the backdrop for Games 1 and 2. Over 112,000 fans attended the two baseball games, just to be viscerally disappointed, watching the Yankees get dominated to the tune of a 12-1 drubbing and a 4-0 shutout. The series pivoted to Atlanta with the pressure mounting on the Yankees, and they responded. Wins in Game 3 and 4 evened the series and shifted the momentum back to New York. In a phenomenal Game 5 pitchers duel between Andy Pettitte and John Smoltz, Pettitte got the upper hand, 1-0. As the series returned to baseball's Grand Cathedral, the Yankees were just a win away from championship number 23. In front of 56,375 fans at Yankee Stadium, the Bronx Bombers finished the job. Facing off against one of the greatest to ever toe the rubber, Greg Maddux, the Yankees only managed a 3 spot, all scored in the third. and it turned out to be all they needed. The Braves tagged a run in the 4th and another in the 9th in desperation, but the Yankees closed it out 3-2. Championship 23 had been claimed, and as Frank Sinatra's voice reverberated through the New York night, Yankee Stadium came alive once again. The ghosts of Gehrig, Ruth, Mantle, and many other great Yankees smiled down as a new generation claimed their place in Yankee Stadium history. The old cathedral had waited patiently, and once more, October belonged to the Bronx. Thank you for watching The Bad Baseball Fan. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the origins of Yankee Stadium, consider subscribing and join me for Part 8.